Well, another big sports story we're following. The Lynx' first round draft pick has arrived in the Twin Cities. The team greeted Alyssa Peely yesterday with a tribal ceremony at Target Center in honor of her Samoan and Alaska Native heritage. She's very proud of that. Community members, her new Lynx fam, and even Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan came to welcome Peely, who says that she's really ready to get to work.
It means a lot, I think. Somewhere that has a rich basketball history, it's honestly just an honor to be a part of and to kind of carry that forward.
And we had Coach here just last week. Big plans for Peely. Lynx preseason tickets begin next week, the game at least, with the Lynx hosting the Chicago Sky on Saturday, May 4th. Tickets start at just $15. Well, just 2 hours ago, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced a lawsuit against Midwest Car Search, a dealer in Fridley, and its owner. Ellison accuses the company of misrepresenting the quality of its cars to thousands of buyers. He says none of the more than 3,000 vehicles sold from 2017 to 2022 were legally certified, as they were advertised. He also says the company often targeted buyers with limited English skills. We've reached out to the company's owner, but have not heard back yet. Two 15-year-olds are in the hospital and one is fighting for his life after a shooting in North Minneapolis. Overnight, we learned police found one of the teens near Fremont Avenue and brought him to the hospital. The other went to the hospital separately. Officers say they also found a stolen Kia they believe the boys were in, riddled with bullet holes a few blocks away. Well, just a few hours ago, the Target in Woodbury reopened following a police shooting in the store's parking lot yesterday. Woodbury police say officers found a stolen car in the parking lot and tried to arrest the driver. They say he resisted and got in the car. He then allegedly got out of the car, pointed a gun at officers. That's when officers shot at him. No word on his condition. The store was put on lockdown for several hours and customers and staff inside. In just over 5 hours, the state's largest school district goes back to work on its budget. This comes after students and parents at Anoka Hennepin rallied late last night into the night to include DEI in the plans. Michelle Beck breaks down the controversy.
After school tonight, the Anoka Hennepin School Board will meet again for a work session to pass a controversial budget proposal. This comes after dozens of people showed up to a school board meeting that wrapped late last night. It was the first meeting since board member Matt Audette posted online he won't be voting in favor of the budget because it funds gender and racial equity programs. He wrote, "It's time to stop the spreading of divisive, one-sided views, a message that split the community."
People should feel welcome and included at schools, but that doesn't mean we need to teach a divisive DEI strategy.
And I expect you to put aside your personal agendas and embrace the needs of the students that you serve.
We know there are 6 board members, and Audette says that 2 of them support him. Now, without a majority, we know that the budget will not pass, and that budget is really the key for the district to pay for things like construction projects and teacher salaries. In Anoka, Michelle Beck, KARE 11 News.
Well, just minutes ago, State Senator Nicole Mitchell was in court facing burglary charges. Court documents say police were called to a home in Detroit Lakes just before 5 a.m. on a report that someone had broken in. An officer says he found Mitchell in the basement of a home dressed in all black. Records show she told police she was getting some of her late father's items. Senate Democrats say they're aware of the situation but are not commenting. Well, Donald Trump's hush money trial is back in session a couple hours later than usual after the judge in the case held a special hearing this morning. It was to determine whether the former president violated his gag order. These are new images from that hearing. Prosecutors argued that every post Trump makes on social media poses a threat to the proceedings, and he should pay $1,000 per violation. The defense said Trump is just responding to a barrage of political attacks. Still not clear when the judge will rule on that motion. Well, today, the Senate will take up a bill that bans TikTok. The bill gives the social media app's parent company 270 days to sell the app before it's removed from U.S. app stores. A TikTok executive is now vowing legal action. A vote could happen in the next 24 hours. It's all part of a foreign aid bill setting aside money for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. New video into our newsroom shows more trouble in Taiwan after another earthquake hit the area. A magnitude 6 quake hit near eastern Taiwan just hours ago. So far, no injuries have been reported, but shaking brought more issues for already damaged buildings from the quake earlier this month. And we may all finally see some relief at the grocery store. A report from Oxford Economics expects global food prices will drop this year. The key driving force is an abundant supply of important crops like wheat and corn. Farmers ramped up production after the spike in prices when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. As a result, harvests are expected to come in at record levels this year. Well, once someone finds success, there's pressure to make sure it's passed on. In this week's Your Money, Gordon Severson talks about creating and maintaining generational wealth.
You work hard your whole life, not to just make money for yourself, but to make sure your kids and maybe even your grandkids have an easier life. But what's the best way to do that? First off, you want to approach this with a future mindset. Start saving as early as possible and start teaching your kids about saving as well. You can give someone a fish and feed them for a day, or teach them how to fish and feed them for a lifetime. It's the same thing with money. If you give them money when you die, that money will run out. But if you teach them how to manage their money, hopefully those lessons will stick with them forever. Second, be careful in giving too much money to your adult children. They still can earn money or take out loans if they need to, but in retirement, you won't have the same wiggle room. Finally, have the tough conversations sooner rather than later. It can be emotional, and you don't want to be forced into making a big decision about who gets mom's home when you're trying to plan mom's funeral.
So important, and we have more tips in Your Money on KARE 11 Plus right now. Minneapolis is definitely thankful to have your money. Also, Minneapolis is becoming a hub for indigenous fashion. At 12:18, we're immersing ourselves in contemporary design ahead of Native Nations Fashion Night. It's going to be amazing. But first, Ben is back with the forecast at 12:15.
Yeah, a little cooler in the forecast the next couple of days. Not as much sunshine, at least for today. We got a bright and sunny forecast ahead, as well as a very significant rain headed our way to wrap up the week. We'll talk about it after the break.